Aditya, a university student in Nepal, woke up on September 4, 2025. He wanted to check his social media, but Instagram did not load. Other apps like Facebook, WhatsApp, and YouTube also stayed blank. The government of Nepal had suddenly banned 26 social media platforms overnight. They said the apps did not follow new rules, but many young people felt this was an effort to silence them. Within hours, thousands of young people went into the streets of Kathmandu. They were upset and wanted change. In only a few days, these strong protests led to the government falling. This was a very quick and surprising event. This kind of anger and action was not happening only in Nepal. Across many countries in Asia, a new generation is rising up. These young people are known as Gen Z, which includes those born roughly between 1997 and 2012. They are changing the political landscape in Asia in ways that were hard to believe just a few years ago. The year 2025 is a very important time. Some people have called this a new Asian Spring or an Asian uprising. It is clear that big changes are underway. Governments in countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal have already been removed. Leaders in Indonesia and Timor-Leste have been forced to change important policies. Many large protests have also begun in the Philippines and the Maldives. This story will explain why these young people are angry. It will show how they are fighting for their future. They want fairness, good jobs, and an end to corruption. This is about their fight to make a better world in their countries. 2. The protests start. The anger started in Nepal. On September 4, the government stopped many social media apps. People could not use Facebook or Instagram. The government said it was for new rules, but young Nepalis believed it was to hide problems. They saw politicians and their families living very rich lives. Meanwhile, ordinary people struggled with high prices and few jobs. This made the young people very angry. Soon, thousands of young people went to the streets of Kathmandu. This was on September 8. The protests began peacefully, but then police used guns. 19 people died on the first day. This bloodshed made the anger even bigger. The next day, protesters set fire to important government buildings like the parliament. They also attacked the homes of political leaders. By September 12, the prime minister left his job. The government fell in only a few days. In total, 73 people died. The young people had changed their country very fast. Next, similar protests happened in Indonesia. The reason was different, but the anger was just as strong. In August, politicians voted to give themselves a lot of money for housing. This was about $3,000 each month. At the same time, the government cut money for schools and hospitals. People thought this was very unfair. They saw politicians taking care of themselves while others suffered. On August 25, many university and high school students protested in Jakarta. They stood outside the Parliament building. At first, it was peaceful. But on August 28, a video spread quickly online. It showed a police armored car running over a young man named Afan Kurniwan. He was a motorcycle taxi driver. He died from his injuries. This terrible event turned anger into rage. This made the protests violent. Anger spread quickly to over 30 other cities. People burned government buildings in places like Makassar. Some politicians' homes were also looted and burned. The police arrested over 3,000 people. 10 people died and hundreds were hurt. The government finally agreed to cut some privileges for politicians. These events showed how fast anger could spread and lead to big, even violent changes. 3. People fight back. In the Philippines, many people were very angry. The country often faces heavy floods. The government had projects to build flood defenses. However, between 2023 and 2025, a large amount of money went missing. About $1.8 billion, which was for flood safety, was lost due to corruption. Some projects were poorly built, and others were ghost projects, meaning they only existed on paper. People also saw images online of Sara Pacificoya, who managed several construction companies that received flood control contracts. She was seen with many luxury cars from Europe and the United States. This made the public even more upset. On September 21, 2025, over 100,000 people marched in Manila and Quezon City. They wore black and white clothes to show both hope and defiance. Their signs clearly stated, "Return our stolen money," and "Everyone involved must be held accountable." These peaceful demonstrations reminded people of the People Power Revolution in 1986. The protesters demanded real changes and an end to widespread corruption. A young medical student, Paulo Chavez, said that young people would inherit the country and were tired of the rotten system. In Timor-Leste, another country in the region, students also decided to fight back. This country is one of the poorest, with more than 40% of its people living below the poverty line. In mid-September 2025, university students protested in the capital city of Dili. They were angry about two decisions made by the government. First, politicians wanted to spend $4.2 million to buy 65 new expensive cars, Toyota Prados, for themselves. Second, lawmakers wanted to grant themselves pensions for their entire lives. Students protested for 3 days. Sometimes there were clashes with the police, who used tear gas. The students used social media, like Facebook and TikTok, to share their message and spread information. They carried banners telling authorities to stop thieves, stop corruptors. On September 26th, the government listened to the people. Parliament decided not to buy the expensive cars and canceled the law for lifetime pensions. After their success, the students cleaned up the protest area. President José Ramos Horta praised the students, saying they had given the world a great lesson. This event showed that peaceful protests could make a government change its decisions. 4. Why they are angry. Young people in Asia are very angry, and there are clear reasons why. They face big problems that make them feel left out and unheard. This anger is the strong feeling that fuels the protests we have seen. One main reason is jobs. Many young people cannot find good work. In countries like China and Indonesia, 1 in 7 young people do not have jobs. In India, almost 18% of young people are unemployed. Even when the economy grows, it is hard to find a good job. Many available jobs are low-paying, informal, and do not offer a chance to grow. Young people feel that the old way of getting a stable job and moving up in life is gone. An expert named Canning Nugroho said that young people sometimes prefer not to work rather than take jobs that pay too little. This means quality jobs are rare, and many end up in poor work. Another big reason for anger is corruption. Young people see politicians and their families living very rich lives. They believe this wealth comes from money that was stolen from the public. For example, in Nepal, there was a popular campaign called Nepo Babies. It showed how children of politicians had fancy weddings and luxury cars. People believed this money should have helped ordinary citizens. In Indonesia, politicians voted to give themselves large housing payments, even while the government cut money for schools and hospitals. In Indonesia, billions of dollars meant for flood safety projects disappeared. People died in floods because this money was stolen. A student activist there, Paulo Chavez, said that young people are tired of this rotten system. These two problems make young people feel that the whole system is unfair. They do not trust their governments to help them. Surveys show that less than half of young people in Southeast Asia trust their governments. This trust is even lower in some countries. They believe that their governments do not care about their problems or listen to their voices. When governments try to stop protests by blocking the internet or hurting people, it makes this distrust even stronger. Dr. Matt Frierdich, a professor, said that governments have not changed with the times. He noted that anger comes from corruption, joblessness, and worries about the future. This deep sense of unfairness, lack of jobs, and widespread corruption creates huge anger. Young people feel that their future is being taken away by people who only care about themselves. This powerful anger is what makes them go out and protest in the streets. They are fighting for a future where they can find good jobs, where leaders are honest, and where everyone is treated fairly. 5. A new way to protest. Gen Z learned new ways to protest. They grew up with the internet, so they used it very well to organize quickly. Social media became a powerful tool in their hands, helping them connect with many people at once. When governments tried to stop them, young people found smart ways around it. In Nepal, for example, when popular apps like Facebook were banned, protesters quickly moved to other platforms. They used apps like TikTok to share short videos and Discord, a chat app, to talk and plan their actions. These digital tools helped them gather many people in a short time. They could also change protest locations fast to avoid police, making it harder for authorities to control them.
These young people also used the internet to share important information. They made videos about corrupt leaders and their families.
They used special online tools to create these messages and shared them using different accounts to stay safe. They showed how politicians were stealing money while ordinary people struggled, helping more people understand why the protests were happening. Online, protesters also supported each other across different countries. They used hashtags like #SeeSiblings, meaning Southeast Asian siblings, to show they were united. People in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Nepal shared similar ideas about fighting corruption. This created a strong feeling of togetherness and common purpose. They also found unique symbols from pop culture to show their unity. One very popular symbol was a pirate flag. This was the Jolly Roger of the Straw Hat Pirates from a famous Japanese cartoon called One Piece. This flag has a skull wearing a straw hat and crossed bones. For fans, it means fighting for dreams and helping people who are not free. This pirate flag first appeared at protests in Indonesia in August 2025. Later, people in Nepal started using it, even near government buildings. The flag also appeared in the Philippines and other countries. Some politicians did not like it, but for the young protesters, the flag showed their belief in freedom and their anger at unfair governments. It was a way to speak without words, using symbols many young people understood. This new way of protesting helped Gen Z connect and make their voices heard across Asia. 6. A risky fight. The digital world helps young people protest, but it also brings many dangers. Using the internet for protests is a risky fight. One big problem is that these online movements often do not have clear leaders. Everyone can join and share ideas quickly. But without clear leaders to guide them, it is hard to control protests. Sometimes peaceful protests can quickly become violent. For example, in Nepal, protests started quietly but soon turned violent. Public buildings were burned and people were badly hurt. In Indonesia, protests also became violent after a police vehicle killed a young man. These events show how quickly anger spreads and how hard it is to manage large crowds without strong organization. Governments also work to stop these protests. A common way is to shut down the internet. They block social media apps like Facebook, TikTok, and WhatsApp. This makes it very hard for protesters to talk and organize. In Nepal, the government banned many social media platforms. They said it was to stop bad information, but young people felt it was to silence them. In Bangladesh, the government also shut down the internet. Such actions make it difficult for people to know what is happening or to ask for help. Governments also use strong force to stop protesters. They arrest people and sometimes hurt them. In Nepal, police fired guns into crowds, and many people died on the first day. In Indonesia, police arrested over 3,000 people. Many were hurt, and some died or went missing. In Timor-Leste, police used tear gas to push students back. In Bangladesh, police used live ammunition, and hundreds died. These actions show that speaking out against the government can lead to serious harm or even death. The fight for change is not easy and comes with many dangers for young people. They face violence, arrest, and even death. Governments can stop their voices by turning off the internet or blocking key apps. Despite these serious risks, young people in Asia continue to fight bravely for a future they believe in. 7. A changing world. These protests across Asia show a big change happening. Young people, known as Gen Z, are demanding a new kind of power from older leaders. This is a big shift from how things have been for many years, where older generations held most of the power. This generational change affects democracy and how countries are run across the whole region. It is like a new chapter for Asia's political life, pushing for more open and fair governments. The young people are angry about many things. They see their governments as unfair and often corrupt. They want leaders who will work for everyone, not just a few rich people. This deep anger pushes them to protest, even when it is risky. They believe they must fight for their future because they feel the current systems have failed them. They have grown up in a world where good jobs are hard to find and money is often stolen from public projects. This makes them lose trust in their leaders. Other big countries are watching these events closely. India and China, as important neighbors, are very interested in the stability of the region. They see how these protests can bring both new opportunities and new problems for their own interests. The United States is also observing, as it wants to support democratic ideas and maintain its influence. These big countries understand that what happens now will affect the future of global politics and trade, and how power is balanced in Asia. The actions of Gen Z could change the future of Asia in a very important way. This generation has grown up with many challenges, including big economic problems and a world deeply affected by climate change. They used the internet from a young age, and this helps them connect and organize their protests quickly and widely. They are not afraid to use new tools to make their voices heard and to show they are united. They want to make sure their voices lead to real action. This is a time when young people are saying that old ways of leading are not good enough. They want honest leaders and a system where everyone has a chance to succeed. Their protests are not just about one issue. They are about wanting a completely different world, a world where they have a say. The future of Asia, its governments, and its people will be shaped by the strong voices and brave actions of this young generation. They are showing that they will not be silent, and they are ready to make history. 8. What happens next? After protests, the hard work of building new, better governments begins. In countries like Nepal, a new government came quickly, but it must make big changes and truly listen to young people. Old political leaders are still powerful, making fast change difficult.
Nepal has seen many governments since 2008, showing how unstable things can be. In Bangladesh, a new government also formed, but problems and disagreements between groups continued. In Sri Lanka, people asked for system change after their leader left. But changing a country's deep systems is slow and difficult. The future of these countries is uncertain. For real change, several things must improve. First, young people need good jobs. Many in Asia struggle to find work. Second, governments must completely stop corruption, making the whole system fair. Third, leaders must listen more, and government systems must include young voices. A challenge for these protests is their lack of clear leaders. This makes long-term planning or talking with governments hard. While social media starts protests quickly, keeping groups united for deep changes needs more effort. Sometimes protests can also become violent, adding to the difficulty. However, one thing is very clear. Gen Z will not stop fighting for their future. This generation grew up with the Internet, witnessing many world problems, from financial issues to climate change. They refuse to accept the old ways.
They use new ideas and tools to make their voices heard, sharing information online, creating symbols, and learning from protests elsewhere. Social media and online groups help them plan and support each other. Young people in Asia have shown they are ready to stand up for what is right. They want fairness, good jobs, and honest governments. They believe they deserve a better future. Their actions are already changing Asia and showing leaders worldwide that young people will not be quiet. Their story of what happens next is still being written by them. What do you think will be the biggest challenge for Gen Z in the coming years?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.